Hey everybody, I'm here today with my beautiful soul sister Rita. And today, Rita just wanted to share a little bit about her perspective and her interesting reflections about her experiences growing up as somebody who comes from the lineage of living in Israel. And so we're going to be sharing a little bit today about that topic. So what's going on in the Middle East from a kind of different perspective than probably what you're used to. And to me, I made one video about what's going on over there, just about kind of the general tactics and things and how we can kind of step back a little bit depending on where we're at, obviously, because I know there's people who are right in it who may have more of a difficult time with that. But those of us who are kind of watching from afar and wondering what we can do, the idea of just kind of stepping back a little bit and looking at things from a different point of view. And then from there, looking at how we can bring in what is new, like the energy and information that will change things, right? Because what we're seeing is just a repeat of things that have gone on this planet for a long time. And so that was kind of what I felt called to and inspired to share about all of that, not wanting to give it too much energy and attention. And then I spoke with Rita about it, and she has a very interesting story that I felt would be really beneficial to share with you all because it's a very empowering way to look at things and way to move forward from, this path of maybe feeling hopeless or powerless and feeling like we can't really do much, right? And things are kind of out of our control. And so I just wanted to invite Rita on today to share with you guys a new take on things, a new perspective, and something that I feel can be really supportive if you're ready and willing to kind of embark upon the journey of self-empowerment and creatorship of your own life and reality. So, we're not going to get to woo today, but we are going to bring in a little bit of that in a grounded and practical way so that you guys can kind of sort through what's happening internally for you during this time, and then maybe receive a little bit of a map as to how to navigate things right now. And so I'm going to open the floor to my dear sister Rita and allow her to just introduce herself and why she feels, and Rita, feel free to share why you feel compelled to share your story and a little bit about your background, and then we can go from there. So welcome, Rita.
Um, Having this incredible, you're a bit frozen. Am I frozen to you?
Oh, okay. Good.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Yeah, it's been a journey to be able to sit where I am right now. And I'm very humbled to be able to sit where I am right now to share. And it feels very important to share. And I think I just need to say that first. So for me, as I began really waking up to what my soul journey was going to be like in this life, and began awakening to the matrix around us and the powers that try to manipulate and try to navigate consciousness on the planet. Some of the things that came forward had to do with specifically lineage and karma. And when diving into that, some of the things that I was taught as part of my history, collective world taught view of many things, specifically World War II, I had a lot of questions. I began to have more questions about what really felt like I wasn't clear on. What really, because, no one was really, can't say we were there, as our generations have passed and we have many generations since. But I could tell as I was building my intuition and building my discernment that the beliefs that we were taught to believe weren't necessarily aligned with what I needed to unravel in this life. So in doing that work, I began really looking at aspects of our history and being led on a journey to open doors and unlock truths. And some of that was around the truth about the way we were, have been, as a human collective, been constantly manipulated. And when realizing that and then applying it to my own experience as being taught about my grandparents' personal experience, I was able to make sense of things from a wider point of view. So to be more specific, for example, my grandfather wrote a memoir about his experience fleeing Poland after World War II began. And my grandmother had a similar story that I went and spent time sitting with her and hearing from her point of view. And this was taught to the children and to us as an experience of displacement for them, and then receiving an invitation to land somewhere new, which is Israel, and to begin a new life there. And I mean, obviously there's detail to the story, but that was the bulk of the story that was taught to many of us. And I think as time has passed and now we're entering a new cycle of war energy, we were invited as a collective to revisit beliefs that we were taught and look a little deeper at what was really happening. And for me, my journey has been a lot about uncovering manipulation and truth, and recognizing that focusing on that is not necessarily my soul mission by any means, but to be able to hold the awareness that we are capable of so much more than the energies that have been created for us to believe, and the systems that have been established for us to follow, and that our actual soul expression is in alignment with love and in alignment with light and truth. And that as I began to see with clarity that I needed to revision in my mind what that looked like for my own family's lineage, that revealed, and this is the piece that I've found the most important, and this is one of the main reasons why I really wanted to share this, was because it revealed to me that I needed to walk through the truth of recognizing the manipulation and the stories and the programming that was generationally carried over and was in with me, and needed to dissolve it. And we do this in many ways, but the main way is to acknowledge and to look at it and to face it and to walk through it and receive what's on the other side of it. And that's the journey that I've had for the past 5-6 years, specifically when it comes to this specific revelation about my lineage. And it's been a humbling process and it's been a lonely process in a lot of ways. And being able to walk through it, though, has brought me to a place where I could shed specific programming. And I even wrote down some of it, like deprogramming about denial and denying the self, certain qualities of life and awareness and perspective, taking on other people's emotions, needing to fix the problems of other people, and needing to be right, feeling immense blame and feeling unheard. These all, from my point of view and from my journey, have stemmed from this lineage, and this karmic, cyclical program and karmic belief that then created experiences in our reality that made us walk through the emotional attachments to them through this life. For me, as 3-4 generations past many of the people that were walking through that journey so long ago. So this time, now in this present moment where we're beginning to see another cycle emerge, it's really offering us the opportunity to look deeply at what we see as not truth, and to trust that there are things there to look at, and to feel safe to do that, and trust and know that when we do, that we're going to be met with the ability to dissolve programming, which I believe Em has spoken about many times in this space and in others, that as we dissolve these ego programs and old world matrix programs and collective behavioral programs, we become new humans. We become totally new versions of ourselves that can perceive differently, receive differently, and create from a place that we never even thought was possible.
So, Rita, can you give like a specific example? Let's say if somebody who, like yourself, comes from this lineage of, like even a summary of kind of the history of what happened to your ancestors and how that experience kind of shaped some, like I know you mentioned some of the programming, but can you give an example of like how whatever happened, and share a little bit about what happened, shaped your perspective and experiences, and then how, what you uncovered and changing that or transforming that can lead to a sense of liberation from these kind of old patternings and old programmings that if we say don't clear those things and we carry on under this illusion of them being true, then what happens to those? What happens to that program if that doesn't get dismantled within our own consciousness? Where does that end up? And then connect that to how what's happening on the planet right now is bringing forth all these things for people at the same time.
Yeah. And it is, right? And from a soul's point of view, it's pretty incredible, right? We're getting another opportunity to clear and to see. And that's pretty incredible. And that doesn't mean that there's not human experiences happening that are devastating and grieve that. Uh, and it's the same as in the past, where, for example, my grandparents were displaced in from Poland and traveled between, like, I can't get a number on it. I was told 12 years, but my intuition says that maybe between eight to 12 years, um, that my grandparents traveled all over the world, from one place to the next, because they couldn't settle anywhere, because they were told they couldn't settle anywhere, because they were told they couldn't go back to either, and because the war and I guess the energy of war was still moving through. There was a lot of programming happening at that time about, defining people in certain ways, right? With World War II. And in that time, they ended up landing, they were on a boat, and I remember my grandmother being on, and we landed in Israel, and she said, this is my grandmother's words to me, that the United Nations gave is to start over. And I
Oh,
think
you might
to
have to Rita, you might have to repeat that because
like,
that
really
broke
truly
up a
look
lot.
at this.
Yeah. Sorry, can you repeat that part? Because it broke up a lot
Okay.
what your grandma said to you.
Yeah. So my grandmother, in her words, said to me that the United Nations gave Israel to the people that were traveling, that were displaced, to start over. And they were put in a communal living area that they called a kibbutz, and they began basically becoming like farmers and on the land. And this was after they traveled all over the world. My grandmother told me they were in Italy, and they were in Nepal, and they were in all different places, just moving. And from my point of view, from a conscious space, that was really kind of stripping them of belonging anywhere. It felt like, imagine being years and years and years. If this is happening times in the world, it's not unique, but this is what I believe is part of it, right? It kind of is like a step in the programming. It's a step in inviting people to detach from any connection they had to the previous life they had. And so then they landed, and they received this. They received this, as did many people. And I think this is so interesting. And we can see that from their state of mind, why maybe that felt like it made sense in the time. I don't really like to place myself in a point of view where I can speak to why the people made these decisions of their own choice, because we're all on our own journeys, and everything serves in its own way. And I'm here to learn from that, from the experiences that are attached to my experience in this life. And so I choose to receive that as a curious thing that occurred. And I question it. And I invite people to, whether they are going to in the end come to the same belief that they did before or not, to be able to feel a right to question what that was really for, and what was maybe underneath that. And now when we see what's happening, and we see wildly similar situations happening in some ways, and we know that the land was not always Israel. We know this. Well, we have to beg the question of what was really happening. What was the manipulation? What was the program underneath that? And I begged those questions and asked and looked inward answers, and looked inward into my own awareness, my own consciousness, my own soul, and my God, and my lineage, and tuned into that and made a connection to that to find truth. And in doing so, what was revealed was how deeply programmed our lineage was, intentionally. And when we sit with that, just that awareness, and individually, people can sit with that awareness and question the fact that there may have been a purpose behind that orchestration to serve in a way of manipulating. And then now, in this now moment, how we can look at that and use that as a catalyst to wake up is a powerful thing. And so I sat with that and walked through that journey, and recognized that a lot of the deep, dark agenda programming, manipulative beliefs and behaviors that we can carry, like negative energy, negative beliefs, a negative frequency, was then laid over us by allowing many generations then to sit with that belief that this was all good, that this experience happened as a rectification of the badness that occurred and that happened to people all over the world that identified as being Jewish. And what that did, from my point of view, is cast quite a bit of a shadowed, programmed structure of beliefs that then the ego played with, which was some of those things that I mentioned earlier. Those were the ones that I could pick out from my deprogramming and could relate that back. So, yeah, that feels complete to me. How does that sound? Do you have any follow-up thoughts that have come in?
Can you give an example of like, okay, so somebody, let's say there's this conflict happening. What would you say to somebody who's kind of sitting in that space of being on one side or the other? And how can they kind of break out of the illusion of this conflict and the history of all of this, and what is maybe some like newer ways of looking at all of this, like newer perspectives that they could
Yeah.
get from doing that?
So when we do the work of when we do our inner work and we start holding an awareness and perspective to discernment and practicing that and practicing our intuition and trusting that and many other things that help the body kind of really become able to pick up the nuances that exist still exist in the world, where we still live in a world where there's, a matrix that's trying to manipulate and perpetuate separation. And when we start doing more of our own ego work, and we start looking at the programs, these skills were the base of that really helped to really initially shake things up. Discernment, starting to trust my intuition, and starting to do a deep amount of ego work. Really gave me a cushion, even just, starting to doubt those things and being aware that those things are important to our balance and harmonization in how we navigate the world, allowed me to perceive things from a wider point of view and perceive that any attempt to invite me to believe in separation of people needed to be questioned. Needed to be contemplated. If I was going to play with it, was going to be doing it from an observer. When I say that, it was like, if I was going to engage, I would recognize that I'm engaging, but then I can disengage, and that I can then reflect on how that felt for me, how that felt in my body, where my mind was going when I was in that space. And then to choose again, when invited to re-enter that, how I wanted to navigate that. And did I want to do it the same way? Or what did I learn from the previous experience of that? Because it's true, things are there, and we're going to walk through it. We're human. We're going to witness certain things. We're going to get invited to see things, whether or not we watch, a news program, or whether we walk down the street and our neighbor talks to us about something, or whether we do feel engaged to participate in aspects of things. We're going to feel, we're feeling beings. We're going to walk through that. We're going to move through emotion. But recognizing that it's your choice to stand in a point of view of separation, or contemplate how you could look at this from a different point of view of oneness, where, and this is the piece that has really helped me, was recognizing that this is serving and getting curious as how it's serving. And so for me, this time now is massively serving humanity, because we are getting an opportunity to really make a choice about how we look at things, to continuously, every opportunity we have, when we witness or when we feel, we decide how we hold ourselves through it. We decide how we respond. We decide if this feels like a moment where I need to look at this deeper, and I need to ask myself, does this feel true? And being able to walk through things knowing that you can do that you have the right to do that. And if every being started to believe that they had that ability, I think we would start seeing people naturally falling more into their heart, and being able to, even if they initially feel the spectrum of separation that exists, they don't attach to it. They don't take it on as, this is my point of view. I can see it, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to end there. That's where I'm going to finish my experience in this now moment. So I think that has been a really big piece of my experience walking through this, in this war energy, in this now moment with what's happening, and how people are wanting to share on how the world and how aspects of the matrix are sharing. It is an opportunity, but we have to see it from that perspective.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, I think I'm going to ask an obvious question, but like, what happens if we don't choose to engage with what's going on the planet from a newer perspective? Like, what happens if we get wrapped up in the drama of it and in the trauma of it more, and just kind of remain stuck in our current perspectives of this?
I think it's interesting, because I think the truth is that, you can play temporarily, you can still play, but if we don't if you feel, okay, I'll say it like this. I know from my point of view, and everybody's going to have their own point of view, where you get to that point, if you're an awakened being and you're meant to walk through this journey from that point of view, and you are going to fall in to the depths of your soul and be embodied through soul in this life, and that is part of your journey, there will be a point where you will start to feel so uncomfortable not participating from a point of view that aligns to that to some degree. And so I think, and I mean, I'm not anybody walking through it from that point of view at present, but I can only speak to when I was asleep to some degree. And before I woke, I remember feeling very uncomfortable, very confused, very suppressed in my voice, suppressed in my body, imbalanced, painful at times. Aspects of my body would ache, and we're not only connected to one another, and as we're moving, we are becoming more and more aware of that, and recognizing more and more of the gifts of that. But we are connected inwardly in a way that wants to really be birthed and be able to be freed and expressed in this life. And it's always been there, but we're really able to express that more and more. And I think that if we choose to play in separation and choose to not work at perceiving things from a wider point of view and from our soul perspective and from our heart language and heart consciousness, there's a good chance we will feel more discomfort, and we will become more sucked into the conflict and conflict energy. And I can only assume that is going to feel very uncomfortable and painful. And and that alone, I feel, can be the leverage and the fuel to ask you to try something new, to continue to be curious at what you're possibly capable of, what you are capable of, or what the possible potential is for you as a human. Because as we each individually do our inner work and do this inner work to view the world from this other point of view, we must recognize, and one of the deep lessons that I've learned is that in doing that work and in holding that for the collective is amazing work. And the more people that can be doing that is serving significantly as well. And we all have different roles, and there's different people doing different things. So I'm not saying that that's the only thing that even one person can do, but it is definitely an integral, important, foundational piece that as an awakened being, we are being asked to step into more fully.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, great. Well, is there anything else, any closing final things that you'd like to add to any of that?
Oh, no, just that I'm really grateful to have, yes. Okay. So I am really grateful to have had this space to speak, in that I'm really, it's taken time to be able to feel the support within me and around me to be able to share like this. And I just want to say to anybody who's watching who may feel like they don't know how they will ever get to a point where they'll be able to maybe fully integrate something like what's happening, what they're being invited, or what they're feeling is about to come through the channel for them, that I hope that they see this as potential for them, and potential for their journey to be part of this incredible shift of consciousness on the planet, and incredible unity that is what is really coming forward. And so I hope that I send lots of love out to everybody, and lots of clarity and strength and humbled knowingness that everybody's journey is going to be different, and that you're going to be ready for certain things at different points, and to know that is perfectly fine. And to know that for me to be able to be standing in this position right now, sharing with a sister in this supportive way, there was a point when I probably would have never thought this was possible. So never doubt what is possible, and always know that there's always so much potential out there for all of us to move into different ways of being.
Yeah, perfect. And yeah, I would say, like, it's opportunity, right? We can look at all these, like you said, as an opportunity, all these things that are happening that make us very uncomfortable. And it's definitely like a catalytic opportunity for us to claim this for ourselves, and to step forward in a new way, and to start asking those important questions, like you said, to reflect upon, like, okay, what is the intention behind this? What's the energy behind these things? What are the, what's the purpose of all of this? And starting to ask those questions within and without, and journeying in that way, and just, receiving these uncomfortable things as these opportunities, and which I know is hard to do. But again, like, if you don't receive this as an opportunity, the next opportunity will come, and then the next opportunity will come. And yes, it might get a little bit more, you might be getting like squeezed and squeezed and squeezed a little bit more, but there's always going to be another opportunity to make those shifts and changes. And that's, to me, how we start changing the world, how we change things within ourselves, and then that is reflected in our external environment as well. So I
Yes.
think it's important that we all take that personal responsibility, as challenging as that is, because it's so easy to be like, this is happening outside of me, and these people are bad, and these people are being victimized, and so on, right? And of course, that is happening on some level, but we want to invite a new perspective, a higher awareness. And with that higher awareness and new perspective, we can bring in new thought forms, new energetic structures, new templates for a different world. And that's
Yeah.
really what like a lot of us kind of signed up to do.
Yeah. And
So, you know,
seeing the roles of everybody, like everybody's a player of this stage, right? Of Earth. And so there are a lot of roles that are not pleasant
mhm,
and those people, the human vessels that are walking that, incredible, right? We can't even believe that a lot of the time, right? When we see things and, and to recognize of holding that higher perspective is recognizing that we are all in a role to help one another with
yeah,
that, whatever that may be.
yeah. And with all that being said, I also just want to offer, my sincere love and compassion to those who are going through difficult periods right now, where they're, these things always, the innocent people are the ones who are always the ones negatively affected by the decisions of others. So
Mm-hmm.
I want to send my love out and um, understanding and compassion out to those who are going through a difficult period of time right now, who are losing loved ones and are in a lot of, turmoil and witnessing horrific acts of different groups of humanity. And yeah, just know that you've got so many people behind you in prayer and in love. And like you said, Rita, like we're on a path of uniting and coming into this movement of unity. We just have to kind of, it's a bit of a bumpy ride based on like just the history and what we're working with in our programming and stuff like that. And so we're just all needing to just know that we're doing the best that we can, all of us, and also like inviting ourselves to examine places where we're not unified in our own consciousness and in our own relationships in our own lives. And I don't know about you, but I've been finding myself feeling the call to reach out and to connect and to resolve things with other people that maybe I haven't thought of in years, but it's just like this inner energetic drive to kind of resolve any or reconcile any kind of energies that were unresolved before. And so I think as we each get called to do that, we're mending the fabric of that division and separation consciousness on the planet. And so we're doing that within and without, and we have our own sphere of influence, right? Each of us, and we just have to do our part. And we'll be called to that in different ways. And also just wanted to add to that piece that Rita and I both offer one-on-one sessions to assist and guide people on this journey if you're interested in getting guidance and support for that. We're both trained in the same modality that assists people in recognizing what's going on under the surface and then clearing that away, so that if you are feeling a bit lost and could use some help, just know that that is available through either Rita or myself and lots of other people out there as well doing that kind of work. So there is a way out of this.
Mm-hmm.
It is through. So anyway, that's my little spiel.
Mm-hmm.
Any last final words, Rita?
Just thank you, thank you, thank you.
All right. All right. My pleasure. Thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you again soon.